Alright, so in this video, I'm going to attempt to express how part of my dissociative identity disorder can be, I'm trying to think how to word this. It can be really painful and it can be really difficult to live with, but at the same time, as it can be really hard and difficult for me to live with, I also am thankful for all my other alters and all of my headmates and the people that form my brain that I share this brain with. So, first, dissociative identity disorder is when someone has a dissociated sense of self rather than having a one sense of self or one mind, one body. They have multiple minds, one body, or a heavily dissociated sense of identity and one body, and it comes from repeated childhood trauma. So one way in which it can be really hard is that D.I.D headmates can present as anything because we're consciousness untethered to our body, and a lot of us, you don't have to appear as how your body appears as a D.I.D alter. For example, I appear as a little imp boy. I'm like a red devil that can also be a cat. I can either be a lion or like a lion cub, or I could be a house cat. And I'm red and I have little horns is how I appear in my mind. And I think that it wouldn't sound like that part of it would be disabling, but it absolutely can be, because, for example, we had an alter that before this alter was someone the rest of the system was really consciously aware of or consciously in connection to. This alter who is named Misty now, when Misty started fronting, was going by a different name, and when Misty started fronting in our system in a way that the other alters and the host alters were aware of Misty, when Misty was around, Misty believed that Misty was dead. So they weren't calling themselves Misty at that time. He was calling himself something else. But when he would front and be the one that was like in control of our body, he believed he was dead. He believed he was like either dying or dead. Like when that part of us was out here, we truly, genuinely thought we were dead. Like dead in our own body, essentially, is how that part of us felt. And so it was really, really painful, like extremely mentally painful to have that headmate fronting, because when that headmate was fronting at first, he believed he was dead or dying. And the other alters, not really being aware of this headmate, didn't know who he was, and it was really like triggering for them to be around him. And also he would have our body would have physical side effects from him fronting, so we would feel physically sick to our stomach when this part of our brain would be the one in control of our body. We would feel like sick to our stomach, nauseous, lightheaded, dizzy. These were all symptoms that we would feel when this part of us was around. And then he sort of like at some point realized that, because at first when he woke up, he believed he's a dead child, is what he told Max. And he said, I think I'm dead. I think I'm a dead child. And I think that I was like murdered or something like that. Like he was saying, this like story to make sense of his own existence. But now he understands that that's not true, and that he's just like a part of our brain, and an anthropomorphized part of our brain, that it's expressing itself and expressing the trauma that he went through. And then he sort of like healed a bit, changed his name to Misty, and changed his appearance to, rather than seeing himself as a dead child or like a shadow or shade of a child, now he sees himself as a zombie. So now he presents as a zombie to keep with the undead symbolism that he carries because of the trauma he underwent in our childhood. But now he presents as a zombie. He speaks in whispers to the rest of us. And now when he's fronting, we don't feel sick to our stomach and we don't feel like we're going to throw up. And we're also not as afraid of him anymore because a lot of us were deeply, deeply afraid of him, and it's not his fault at all. And that's not something he should feel ashamed of or anything. I don't want him to feel bad about that if he watches this later, because it's not his fault and he couldn't help it. And he couldn't help, that he didn't know who he was when he woke up. He couldn't help any of this. It was a product of our disability and of the trauma he carries, because we realized that the reason that anytime this altar was around, that he believed he was dying, that we would also feel physically ill, like we were going to throw up or different things. We realized that the reason Misty was causing us to feel that way is because Misty was a altar that carries sexual abuse trauma. And Misty was a part of our brain that when we were 12 years old, we were raped. And so because of that, that's why Misty was the way he was, because he was the part of our brain that was holding that. So the reason Misty was causing us to feel like physically sick and ill and like we were going to throw up and all this other stuff, and the reason Misty believed he was dying and that he was dead, is because he was the part of our brain that was holding the trauma from being raped when we were 12 years old. And when we accepted that, he stopped causing us to feel physically ill when he was fronting. He stopped believing that he's dead, and instead now chooses to express himself as a sort of mental zombie that speaks in whispers. And most importantly, he started to heal. He started to heal. He started to be able to communicate to the rest of us. He started to no longer be like suffering or believing he was dying whenever he would be like fronting, or that he's dead, how he used to believe. And now it's more like he just presents as a zombie, but he understands that he's a mental person that is like just a part of our brain, the same way we all are in our D.I.D system. And accepting that that part of us was raped caused him to heal, and he also chose a different name, and now he's stable, essentially. And I'm talking about this because I think sometimes people don't understand how truly difficult it actually is to live with D.I.D. and how hard it can actually be for someone living with this disorder. And I want to kind of convey this part of us because I think it could maybe help to give a taste of the darker side to this disability and how it can really be very, very difficult for someone living with this disability. And I also want to reiterate that that's not Misty's fault. It's not Misty's fault that when he was fronting, he believed he was dying or dead. It's not Misty's fault that he was causing our body to feel physically ill and like we were going to throw up whenever he would front. It's not his fault that the rest of the headmates were afraid of him. And it's not his fault that he caused such a strong repulse response from a lot of us. It is not his fault. He is just a part of our brain that went through a trauma in our childhood that he had no control over, that he was holding on to for years. And then when he started to be aware again, had to be healed to reach balance. And now that he's balanced, he's fine. Like, he's not causing those symptoms in us anymore. And he's able to move on, and we're able to move on. And I think that expressing this can express like some of how this disability can truly be really, really hard to live with, while also simultaneously expressing that, like, I love every single one of my alters unconditionally. I love every single part of my system unconditionally. I love all of my alters unconditionally. I love the ones that have hurt us in the past. I love the ones that have not. I love all of us, and every single person in us is a part of our brain expressing itself. So even though when we first were becoming aware of Misty, it was really, really difficult for a lot of us, I'm trying to think how to put this. I'm so thankful that this part of us did come out, and I'm so thankful that he's healing now, and that accepting what trauma he carries and what he went through, now we are all more whole for having him aware with us. And that is this video.